Solo board gaming night here, and today I'm going to give you my top 5 dungeon crawlers that I love to play solo. The number 5 spot will go straight to Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. Now, I'm going to give a quick caveat about this game. This game has what I like to call the Mage Knight syndrome. And what I mean by that is you might find yourself staring at your hand of cards that you have before you for a really long time, trying to maximize the absolute best move that you can possibly pull off in your turn. The game can be difficult. There could be a lot to take in. However, the first 5 missions or so of this game, think of it like a video game tutorial where it introduces an ability or an action to you. And it's like, all right, here you go, first mission. This is the ability that we're going to show you. Go ahead, go at it. And then you're going to start using that ability, moving around the board, trying to get a feel for it. After you're done with that, the second mission will come up to you and introduce another ability and be like, okay, here you go. Here's another ability that you can use alongside the previous ability that we showed you. And then you go ahead and you start using that mission and learning and getting acquainted with the abilities available to you. And the missions just keep going. Every new mission, they introduce a new action, a new ability. And before you know it, you have this game down packed and you're exploring, you're fighting, and there's great, it's a great game. Very, very great game. A little bit dark, but it is fun and absolutely a must-have if you're into dungeon crawlers and you love to play solo like me. A great, great choice. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit over here, and as you can see right before you, you can obviously tell that my number 4 is going to be Mice and Mystics. But I'm actually going to throw something else down into the mix, and that thing is Aftermath. Why do I have Mice and Mystics and Aftermath under the same number 4 slot? It's really simple. They're both heavily story-based games. They're made by the same developer, the same creator, and they both have one thing in common. They tell amazing stories. I mean, absolutely amazing stories. I want to say that Mice and Mystics is a little bit simpler when it comes to the gameplay mechanics. So Mice and Mystics I would probably recommend to people that want a more quicker not quicker, but an easier adventure dungeon crawling experience. However, those that want a little bit more oomph to their gameplay, I would actually suggest Aftermath. The way the combat and the exploration and movement and pretty much everything is done with Aftermath, it takes a lot more understanding of the core game mechanics, and it's much deeper than Mice and Mystics. But in my opinion, they're both great, but they just have amazing stories. If you're anything like me, I really enjoy storytelling in my games, and these really do an outstanding job both keeping you engaged as a player in their gameplay, but also having that story thread to push you along, wanting to know what comes next around that corner or after this story thread. It's like the ultimate carrot dangling on a stick in game form, and it just one thing leads to the other, and it just keeps you going and going and going, wondering what's going to happen next while enjoying the dungeon crawl while you're at it. Amazing games. Do yourself a favor, check out Mice and Mystics and Aftermath. Both amazing experiences and awesome to play solo as well. All right, so I'm going to cheat again. I'm going to include a couple games at my number 3 slot as well. And this is going to be my app-based games: Star Wars Imperial Assault, Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, and Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. Each one of these games I feel has been an improvement upon the previous iteration. I believe that it has something for everyone. If you love dungeon crawlers and you like Star Wars, you can't go wrong with Imperial Assault. If you are into the horror mood, and especially now that it's Halloween coming around the corner, and you want something that's a little scarier, then you have Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. Now, keep in mind, I was lukewarm with Mansions of Madness when I played it, but there was another particular game that I loved so much, it got me to give it a second chance, and guess what? I actually really enjoy Mansions of Madness. I now have pretty much everything that there is to have with Mansions of Madness, and I look forward to many more game nights playing it. And going to Lord of the Rings, in my personal opinion, if you like fantasy, so we have your sci-fi, we have your horror, and we have your fantasy in Journeys in Middle-earth. All great dungeon crawlers. You can't go wrong with either one of them. They play great solo. My personal favorite, it's close. My personal favorite, I'm going to have to say Journeys in Middle-earth. I really liked how they did the gameplay with the cards. I really enjoyed what they did with that. It was really well made, and I liked how you upgrade your characters. I really enjoyed it personally, but honestly, you can't go wrong in either one of them. It's kind of like you choose what you like best. All choices are gonna lead to fun. So if you like dungeon crawlers, yes, you need an app to play them. No, I don't care, because they're very fun and amazing experiences, and they all work very well and give you a unique feel compared to other board games. So that's my number 3. My last 2 spots were really hard to decide which order I would do it. But the second spot goes to Middara. Now, I need to say something about Middara. This has to be one of my favorite story-based games when it comes to the story. This is an amazing dungeon crawler. It's so good. Oh, it's the closest you will ever get to playing an RPG from a video game in board game form. I would even say that this game has instances in it where it strongly reminds me of Persona. So much so, I mean, it's not a one-to-one, but it honestly really gives me some serious Persona vibes, and I absolutely adore this game. It is so good. The book is really thick. It's like that thick, and you're reading a lot, okay? And you're going back and forth, and everything you find on the map in the dungeon, you end up having to have like this little red decoder that used to be famous back in the 80s that would hide like this red blurry text, and then when you put the red decoder over it, it reveals the hidden information. This game does a lot of that, but it is so good. So good. One caveat, it requires an insane amount of mental gymnastics. Now you get used to it, it gets easier as you go, but huge warning, mental gymnastics, mathematical mental gymnastics to be specific, happens a lot in this game from beginning to end. I don't mind. I love it. I love it because the story is just so great. But when it comes to the dungeon crawling, it's spot on. The exploring, spot on. The characters, the lore, my goodness, the lore in this game is phenomenal. Spot on. I mean, just praiseworthy. It's phenomenal. I love the lore. You will love the characters. I absolutely love the characters. Just keep in mind, you're in it for the long haul. This is not a short game, not by a long shot. I'm not done with it yet, but I will keep playing it, and I'm still loving it. Take your time with it. Do what I do. And I'm going to say what I do later after my number 1. But it really helps when you follow my little golden rule, and I'll let you know what that is. But for now, just know that Middara is an outstanding RPG. Keep note, however, as another little side note, to play solo in this, you have to play all 4 characters. It's very doable, Very easy. I do what I do with my number one, in which I have two dinner tables that I fold out, and I put all the characters on there. So pretty much I free up the whole entire table for the actual dungeon crawling, and I feel like I'm in the command center, commanding all the characters that are on the table. It's cool. I just like doing it that way. But the story is great. The combat is great. Yes, a lot of mental mathematical gymnastics you'll be doing once you get through that and you get accustomed to it. It gets easier, but it could wear you down. It's taxing, but such a great experience and so worth it. And that story, oh, icing, it's the cherry on top of the icing of the cake. It's just great. So my number two goes, and well deservingly so, to Middara. Now, I wasn't going to do an honorable mention, but since I did my top 10 personal favorite solo games, I included it there, and I was kind of hesitant on doing so here, but I have to. It would be a disservice to the game if I don't, and it's Etherfields. Etherfields is a game that still, till this day, absolutely captivates me. It really does. And I think one of the main reasons that it does so is because I've had lots of nightmares throughout my life. And one of the strangest things about nightmares is when I wake up, number one, it's like, oh, it was just a dream. I'm safe, right? But then when I think about the dream that I had, it's just so weird, so strange. Like I start questioning why did I even dream that? I mean, what did I see, watch, or think about throughout the day that made me have this weird dream? And what I like about Etherfields is not so much that it follows a story like Middara does, or like my next one, upcoming game does, but that it's just out there. Absolutely out there. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen because every mission is a dream. And every dream is completely different than the dream that came before it. And I think that's the strength of Etherfields. That every dream is different. Every situation in the dream is different. What can come out of the dream? Something that you haven't seen before. So Etherfields, yes, it's a dungeon crawler. It's a story-based-ish kind of game. Not really, kind of. I don't know how to say that, but it has a story. I'm still trying to figure it out. But wow, I just love it. And I have to mention it because if any of you guys are into dungeon crawlers and you like solo games, you have to try Etherfields. If anything, just for the experience. It's such a strange one, but enthralling and captivating all at the same time. It's Etherfields. That's how I'll describe it. It's Etherfields. And that's my honorable mention. So here I am. I arrived at my number one favorite dungeon crawler that I play solo. And this is a game that was absolutely hated and panned before it came out. It was talked about so badly. I'm so glad that I'm the type of person that when a game calls my attention, I choose to give it a try and make up my own opinion because I could have missed out on an amazing number one spot, for example. And this game is called Descent: Legends of the Dark. It's new. A part of me was like, well, maybe I like the game because I bought into the hype of it's something new and I'm excited and I want to talk about it. But you know what? Here I am today and I still love it. I love Descent: Legends of the Dark. If you noticed, on my number 3, I ended up putting Lord of the Rings, Imperial Assault, and Mansions of Madness. I just clumped them all together and I put them in my number 3 slot because I realized that I had four app-based games. And I was like, well, if I put these 4 games, there goes my... I didn't want to do a top 10. I like top 5s just better for me. I don't know. It feels much more like precise. And I was like, well, you know, if I just use those games. It takes up every slot in my list, and I can't talk about other awesome experiences that I've had in the dungeon crawling genre. So that's why I clumped them all together, and I didn't add this one in there because this one is the culmination of absolutely everything that came before it. And not only that, it was just made better. It's an improvement in absolutely every single facet of the previous web-based, app-based games. They just upped the ante. And not only that, they perfected it. And it really does feel like dungeon crawling perfection. Descent Legends of the Dark deserves to get played. Absolutely deserves to get played. If you, unfortunately, hearing, and I absolutely understand. I understand where you're coming from. A very expensive game. You've heard a lot of negativity, a lot of bad things, a lot of bad press. Name it. It's gotten the worst of the worst. But I can guarantee you, this game does not deserve it. Does not deserve all that negativity. It's so good. I love it. And I mentioned this when I made my review on this game. Number one, that review, I think if I were to review it again, if I were to re-review the game, I think I'd be even more excited about it. I really like it that much. But in that review, I mentioned that if you love Legos, you're really gonna like this game. And I'm still going to say I know what everything looks like. I put it all together already, but just the fact of exploring every chapter, you're gonna go into a new territory. You don't know what's gonna come out, but you're just along for the ride, right? You're trying to see, all right, what's gonna happen to our heroes this time? And every time I'm placing something, it feels like when I'm building Legos. It's like, okay, I don't exactly know what this is going to look like yet, but I'm pretty sure that I'm going to understand it in a little while. And this game just never fails to impress. It's just great. It's great. It's outstanding. A must-buy, must-own, must-have, must-play, must-experience dungeon crawler. I think this blows a lot of them out of the water. I mean, it just does. It's flat out fun. So my number one, very well deservedly, goes to Descent, Legends of the Dark. If you were down on it, I implore you, go find somebody that owns it. Go to your local game shop that can demo it for you. Play it. Play it for yourself. And okay, and if it's not for you, okay, then, not everything is for everyone, right? But hey, then this game was really, really meant for me. And I absolutely love it. Awesome solo game to play. I'm just gonna be honest, I really did not expect this list or this video to take as long as it took me, because it's only a top 5. But that just comes to show you how much I really, honestly, really enjoy these dungeon crawlers. I'm really trying to give you the cream of the crop. I'm trying to give you the best of the best, the tip of the spear, you name it. Personally, that's how I feel. And I'm very passionate about it. And I realized, I bet you could tell, and I know I could tell, because I get really hyper when I'm talking about something that I truly believe in, something I truly like. So this is how I feel, it's me. But I did want to talk about one thing. I like to call it my golden rule. And my golden rule not only works for board games, but it also works for pretty much everything else in life. And that is everything in moderation. What I mean by that is, like, even the best game, Descent, Legends of the Dark, my number one, crazy, love it, even Middara, every game here, I just love them, right? But Descent, Legends of the Dark, my favorite game right now. Even that game is prone to burnout. Or maybe I just get tired of it. It feels repetitive after a while. Everything does. Name one video game, one board game, one movie, even songs that cannot be repetitive. Why? Because if you play it over and over and over, and do it over and over and over and over and over again, it's going to be prone to that. But in moderation, like what I do personally, and here's where my golden rule comes, the moderation part. Not necessarily moderation, only play once in a while. No, what I mean is space it out. You know, today I'm learning a new game. I'm learning Bullet. Before that, and I'm learning Outer Rim. But before that, I played Burgle Brothers. Before that, I played a game of Alien. Before that, I played a game of Warp's Edge. I've played Legends of the Dark. But this is what I do. I'll play a game, right? Like Legends of the Dark, I just mentioned. And I'll be like, wow, I wonder what's going to happen next. I want to play more to see what comes up next. But you know what? I just wait. I play another couple of games, and maybe a week later, 2 weeks later, I come back, I visit it again. I'm like, all right, let's see where our heroes go this time, or where our adventure takes us this time. And it's kind of like a to be continued type of thing. But when I play games like that, I realize that what it does, it keeps the excitement high. It keeps the entertainment through the roof. It keeps my anticipation constantly wanting to know, wanting to play, instead of just, I'm just going to have it all right now until I can't take it anymore. No, I want to enjoy it, savor it, taste it. And that's my golden rule. Take your time with it. You don't have to rush. I know you might love it, but don't rush it so that you could love it even more tomorrow. This was Solo Board Gaming Night. Thank you so very much for joining me. I had a great time making this video. And you guys have a great game night.